Welcome to hashtag 52 Needs, and this week we are exploring sharing. And I'm delighted to have with me Adam Furness, an amazing human being who's perfect for this topic, who's been working in media and advertising for almost 20 years. With experience across radio, TV, digital, and a passion for tech-based startups, Adam has a diverse skill set. He's held senior leadership roles in sales, strategy, cross-platform and business development at Southern Cross Austereo, Macquarie Radio Network, and MI5. MI5, close.
MI5.
More recently, Adam was the managing director for Asia Pacific at RhythmOne, and he's currently the managing director Asia Pacific for Impact.com, where he has been leading the expansion of the business for the last 4 years. Adam is a founding board member of Unlimited, the media marketing and advertising industry foundation, supporting youth charities, and an advisor to several emerging tech businesses. Adam lives in Sydney with his wife, Sophia, and their 2 daughters, Chloe and Helena. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Angela. Good to be here. And yes, it was MI9, not MI5.
I know,
but that would be pretty cool. I wish I did work at MI5. I wouldn't be able to share anything if I worked at MI5, though.
Good point. Whereas, yes, whereas before you've been sharing, I mean, you really have been working in organizations that are all about sharing, right?
Totally. Yeah, totally. The last organization that I think you touched on there, RhythmOne, was all about sharing content. There was tools that we actually put on websites to help people share. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
So a question for you is, in a world that is built on competition, how does that go with sharing? Are they mutually exclusive, or is there careful sharing or selective sharing, or?
I would say there is a bit of careful sharing, a bit of selective sharing, depending on the environment and who was around and what sort of, there's conscious, let's say conscious sharing. So thinking about the environment and who was around and how much you can share and what you share. And if I'm really honest, sometimes you share things that you know are going to be picked up. It's almost like you seed something in because you know it's going to be picked up and used, and you think through kind of what information you're giving and who is receiving it, what they're going to do with that information, and you do that for your benefit. I've got to be honest there, that can happen, does happen, and I've done it.
Yeah, well, and that's very different from, you know, like I have this a lot when people share something, they put a lot of work into something and they share it on social media for free because they want to make that resource available. And then a competitor snatches it up, changes the branding, puts a tiny little spin on it and brands it as their content. And that can be very discouraging. But when it actually is content, as you said, that elevates people or that creates new consciousness, well, then I'm all in favor of it.
Absolutely, you know. And I also think with businesses that share their content, if you're the best of the best of the best when it comes to business, you're moving that quickly. That you share things, your competitors pick them up, they rebrand them, they share them again. If it's growing the pie and it's doing some good for communities or society, then fantastic, great. You're already on to the next thing. And they can't keep up because all they're thinking about, your competition that is what you're doing and how they can get what you're doing and rip it off and take it or rebuild it, and you're just thinking about your customers or your community and servicing your customers in your community and doing the best job you can in iterating your brand, product or services that your competition can't keep up. So yeah, it is an interesting one to talk about what you share and how you share and so being ripped off.
Yeah, exactly. But let's talk about another aspect of sharing in business. So some people share in order to get praise and appreciation. You know, this is this whole marketing aspect of, I'm not doing this because I want to elevate, I want to evolve, I want to move forward, but because I'm going to get kudos for it. You know, I'm going to get the followers who go, yay, well done. You know, I increase my followers on social media. So that's not sharing in the best sense. That is just, I don't know. What do we call that?
I don't know, chest beating, maybe.
Yeah.
It's boasting. Do you know what I love seeing those posts where they call it, it's like the humble brag,
Mm-hmm.
where someone's like won an award or,
Yeah.
and they go, oh, I'm so humble to be the best salesperson in my company. It's like, well, no, you're not humble. You're kind of proud, and you're sharing it to beat your chest, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
But just own it. Just
Yeah.
own it. Just say, hey, I'm super proud about this.
Yeah.
I'm pumped about this. Don't say I'm humbled by winning this award. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And is that of benefit to the community around you when you share something like that? Probably not. But it's okay if you just want to kind of put yourself out there.
Yeah.
But own it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always had problems with, people saying, you need to share more about yourself. And I'm going, and then people said, well, if somebody gives you testimonial, they give it to you so you can share it. So people actually understand that you're doing good work. So please go ahead and share it. And again, but there are people who compulsively share, like they get something and it's everywhere. And so, I mean, what I'm inviting people, and I think I hear the same thing from you who are listening to this, think about why you're sharing it. Does it actually support people to step up as well and say, look, there's some good stuff out there. There's some good people out there. Or is it really about showing up in such a way that it sometimes actually creates that sense of, I'm so much better than other people. They can never live up to this. And it creates that, I don't know, that sense of you'll never live up to me.
Yeah, that's when I think it's wrong. But the idea of sharing across, and sharing consistently across multiple platforms, I'm totally for that. As long as there's a conscious reason behind it, and you're serving the community around you, and you're adding value to your followers, your listeners, your fans, then I'm all for people that share consistently. But it's the ones that are, it's like, what value is it in you showing me your naked body at the beach, or the selfies in front? I don't get it. The selfies in front of, like, they jump in a lift and there's a mirror, let's do a selfie. I don't get it. Like, what value is that? Or I'm at the gym again, here I am at the gym. Like, I think there might be some underlying need for validation and that type of thing. And like, maybe that's okay if they're getting it, but I think there's some danger when it comes to sharing because of that reason.
Well, the thing is, as you just said, people share all sorts of stuff, and that's also with regards to material possessions. I come across these posts all the time where people share their Rolls Royce and their big house and their this and their holidays, and it's, I think what it does, it actually creates that sense of I can never live up to that. And again, I think what it does for people who are reading these, it doesn't necessarily inspire people. What it does, it creates actually that sense of, I'm never going to be able to achieve this. And same with sharing, when people, I love it when people supposedly have just gotten out of bed and look absolutely amazing. Like, they have just spent 20 minutes and then crawled back into bed and then gone, oh, look, I've just woken up and I'm looking absolutely fabulous. That doesn't create uplifting, sharing, vibes of, oh, wonderful, I'm feeling so inspired. That creates that sense of, my God, I don't look like that. I never look like that, which is the reason why 13-year-old girls want to have boob jobs and nose implants or, rhinoplasty of any kind.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really dangerous, that sort of side. I mean, I love when you see people with celebrities that are really authentic in their sharing their content. They wake up and they show it how it is, and they've got kids on them, and they've got a bit of snot on their cheeks, like their hair's up, and they've got sleep in their eyes, and you kind of connect with them on a deeper level. You have more respect, and it becomes more about the human being than that sort of human seeing, or this kind of second life, virtual life that isn't real. It's a facade. It's a veneer.
Okay, well then let's take that back into a work context, because we learn supposedly that as a leader, for example, you're not supposed to share too much of yourself because people lose respect for you if you show any kind of vulnerability.
Yeah, I I think there was a period of time for me where I didn't want to show vulnerability as a leader, and then I sort of reached a point, and I actually think you helped me here, Angela. I think you're a big part of this, where there was a realization that, you know, I'm not perfect. In fact, I've got a lot of flaws. You ask my wife, she'll tell you. And being okay with that, but being okay with, I know that I'm good at a bunch of stuff, and I know that I'm not so good at a bunch of stuff, and I know that I've had plenty of failures along the way. And I think the ability to kind of show up and own up and just say, here I am, you know, that it builds an amazing connection with team and people around you, and the community, customers, and you get past all the kind of the BS, and you're straight to, okay, this is who I am. I'm not great at these things, I'm pretty good at these things. I've got people that are great at the things that I'm not good at, and I'm here as I am in front of you, saying, you know, let's work together. And there's no hidden agendas, there's no nothing, it's just, this is it. And I'll tell my team, and I've told them many a time, stories of, you know, when I got sacked, and I will tell them the story that this was the journey that it was on, and I got sacked, and I got sacked for being a dickhead. You know, I got sacked for being aggressive and arrogant and short and sharp and really direct. And the reason I was that, because that was my worst self. And the reason that I was my worst self was fear. And for me, it was fear of failure or worthlessness or pressure from the job. And I'd go from best self to worst self. And I'll explain to them that's the case. And, you know, when I tell people that, I can see their jaws drop, and they not only go, oh, wow, they kind of lean in, and then they sort of open up. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, that's much better than me saying, hey, I've had all these roles along the way, and here I am today, and, you know, look at me. It's like, yeah, no, I fucked up a lot. Yes. And I've learned, and I think, you know, the resilience and if I'm to pick one thing that I guess that has been great that I've done from that, is I've learned, and I've applied those learnings, and I'll continue to apply those learnings, because I've realised that you know, I'll never know enough, and the more I learn, the more I realise the little I really know.
Well, when you're saying, you know, you're sharing about your imperfections, that is, on the other hand, that's very different from sharing your everyday family dramas or, you know, things like that. So there's sharing and there's oversharing. You want to still be the leader who's able to hold the vision, who inspires people, but who says, you know, the way in which we get there is not like this. There's an up and down, and there's, you know, learning along the way, but and it's the ability to really show up for people and saying, you know, I'm having a hard time right now, and I'm still on, you know, we're still moving forward. Whereas, you know, saying I'm having a really bad moment and falling apart, and then not showing up into the office for 5 days, that's probably not what we're talking about here.
No, it's not.
Just so we're really clear for anybody.
Just to be clear, no, it's not.
No.
But if you are feeling like that, and you are feeling like your world is falling apart, just expressing that and having the time and doing what you need to do, and then get back on track as quickly as you can. I think that's kind of that's okay if that's how it really is. Yeah. Particularly now and over the last couple of years, in particular, it's been really tough for people, and those that haven't shared where they're really at, have fallen apart. Yeah. And it's not about just going, hey, every single day is the worst day, but it's about, you know, working out how do you get back to your best self, but being okay with it's a day-to-day proposition sometimes.
Yes, which is why, you know, my sunshine's people that are really important for that. And again, it's separating out what's appropriate for one person to share is not necessarily appropriate to share with another person. But yeah, so that boundaries are important. And I'm gonna, you'll love this. Next year, when I'm finished with #52needs, we're doing #52 boundaries. Oh, that'll be really interesting.
Make sure someone might rip off your idea though, and come #53 needs, #53.
You're welcome to do that. If we can come up with 105 different boundaries, and that helps people learn what it means to have boundaries, and when they're overstepping boundaries, I'm all for that.
Love it. Love it.
I think that's one of the things that we don't really learn, is to set boundaries. We undershare, we overshare, but we don't necessarily know how to hold the boundaries in such a way that we encourage that trust and that connection without burdening people, where they start feeling responsible or where they disconnect because they go, ooh, too much, I can't deal with that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe in the work sense, it's kind of up to the leaders to not just say these are the boundaries, but to show where the boundaries lie.
Yes.
As
And
far as
invite
sharing.
people. And invite people again to set them with, in a team capacity, like what are we sharing, what is not, again, there are cooperation, sharing resources, sharing knowledge, all of those things. Okay. Yeah. So the question I've got, the other question I've been thinking about is sharing has a lot to do with fairness as well, right? So sometimes we want to share because, that's fair. And sometimes we don't want to share because it's unfair. Like I would give too much of myself, or the other person would get too much, whatever it might be. So I've been thinking, are women better at sharing than men? Or are men better at sharing than women? Because, like we've got the good old boys networks, where men go, oh, I've got a good job for you here. I'll share that. Whereas women.
Talk about the boys network. What about this one?
Nice. I like that. Yeah.
One of the girls. But yeah, sorry, go on, Angela.
Yeah. So again, I mean, who is more? I mean, I'm completely generalizing here, because I'm also looking at the fact that, women are still get paid. What is it? Less than 80% of what men earn. Right.
Yeah, it's not good enough.
No. And at the same time, in the US, for example, the ratio between a CEO and a worker, the pay ratio, is 350 to 1. That's gone up exponentially. So I'm not talking about we need to all share equally, but how can we share better? I mean, what needs to give? Yeah.
I think it's about consciousness. So just being conscious of whatever the decision is. And I don't know, there's consciousness, there's an awareness around, there's conversation around it as well. So when you talk about the pay gap, for instance, it's okay, well, there's people that are responsible, that are driving that, that need to own up and need to step up and need to do something about. And just being conscious that decisions that are being made, there's consequences to them. And so I think it's like micro changes. There's no silver bullet. It's those, if you're in a leadership role and you're making a decision on pay, then it's based on talent and how good they are. There's nothing else involved in their experience and the performance in their role. Nothing else is should not be looked at, and that's an equal playing field. If you're looking at the mix of diversity across a board, then my view is that you need to push for 50-50, but it's not just 50-50 male female. It's also looking at skills and diversity in age and ethnicity and a whole range of different factors. But and that's a conscious thing. So it's an understanding what's your circle of influence and making those little changes along the way. Now, if everyone does that, then it does become more of an equal playing field when it comes to kind of sharing wealth, knowledge, sharing opportunity.
Well, we could talk about greed for the next half hour quite easily, and looking at consciousness around that versus, again, sharing. And the sharing economy is something that hasn't really been talked about. I mean, do you think that, like, for example, with COVID, has that given it a boost? Because, I mean, things changed so dramatically. Do you think that has contributed to consciousness? Because I think you're closer to this than I am. I mean, obviously, as a coach, I don't get into the mechanisms of, the underlying economic drives of things, but you do.
I think people are definitely more human now in business and even personally. I can see that people are asking more around how you are, like how are you, and not just being okay with a default answer. I'm fine. It's good. It's like, well, are you? Is it all good? And even when, you know, I've been in cafes where it was getting takeaway, but now I can actually go into a cafe. I'll be like listening to the conversations, and people were, you know, checking in, and so I do think that maybe a silver lining out of the last couple of years has been that connection piece and a bit more sharing of information and going a little bit deeper. So I think there definitely has been a silver lining there, or something positive for sure.
And has that translated into business as well? I mean, are people more willing to share resources? Because I know, I mean, like I don't have the big overview, but I know that there were companies who were saying, look, let's just support each other and make sure that we survive this.
Yeah, yes, 100%. I mean, the impact.com, we kind of sit in this space, which is around partnerships and businesses working together, and a business and an individual working together to drive sales predominantly.
Yeah.
And we're seeing, I mean, in our world, at impact.com, like it is exploding. More businesses are wanting to work with more businesses to drive an outcome for both, which is typically a sale and revenue and building this whole kind of partnership economy, and that space is just exploding. So I think, you know, if I look at it through that lens, it's huge, and it's only getting bigger.
Yeah. That's, I mean, again, you can combine, you can connect people in a way where it's about profit and making more sales, but it's also about, from what I gather, again, creating more value for the people who are buying the products, or, you know, again, connecting people in a different way. There are all sorts of benefits. I mean, it's not just about making money. There's convenience on one hand, but also effective.
100%. Yeah,
there's all sorts of stuff, right?
Well, the reason they are getting together, yes, there's an economy and there's money being exchanged, and for sure, but it's actually about the consumer experience. It's like, how do we work together to give the consumer a better experience? Yeah, and that's kind of what they're doing via our sort of tech. So I think you're 100% correct there.
I mean, like I share, like I sometimes have this, I get a client and they want to do some work with me, and I say, look, I could do this with you, but I know somebody who is much better at this, and I'd rather refer you to this person and you work with them, and, you know, get more value out of that. And it always comes back. There's no, I'm going to get something back, but there's always this, you know, and some people formalize these agreements and some people don't. It's generally a really good way of just making sure that people get the best support, the best service, the best outcome.
Yeah, totally. There's like this referral, called the referral economy, same kind of thing, sharing.
Yes.
Sharing information about someone, or sharing a person that can make a difference in a company, not expecting anything back, but it's a referral because it's the right thing to do, and it's good for business.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, sharing, big topic, lots of different aspects. Is there anyone that you think we have missed?
I'm sure we've missed a lot. There's so much in it, isn't there, Angela, when it comes to sort of sharing, and then you know, different kind of topics that you can go into, and rabbit holes, no doubt, that you can go into.
Absolutely.
You know, I think if there's one thing I say about sharing, is I think sharing is good for business, it's good for society, and it's, you know, it is about abundance and growth, and you know, creating an impact. Maybe I could say that. Yes.
Yeah. And when it's done with kindness and ecology and appreciation for, you know, and respect as well, then it's a win-win situation. And I think that's what's important.
Good intent. 100%.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, again, we can have another conversation about this, I'm sure, and maybe we will. It would be really nice. But for now, thank you so much, Adam. Thank you, everybody else, for listening and watching, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Angela.